Welcome to the channel, you who love captivating stories as much as we do. Subscribe, it would mean the world to us. In the first part of this tale, our three friends went to meet a sorcerer in the forest in their quest to become wealthy. However, the riches they were promised came with strict conditions they had to follow. Here is the continuation of this thrilling story. Months passed, and Mamadou, Koffi, and Ibrahim basked in wealth as if drowning in an ocean of endless pleasures. Parties followed one another, fields of flowers lit by candlelight, and streets echoed with laughter and music. Each lived in opulence, every desire fulfilled in a life of extravagance. Yet, amidst the splendor of their existence, a strange emptiness began to creep into their hearts. Mamadou, Koffi, and Ibrahim's homes were filled with treasures, dazzling jewels, rare fabrics, and magnificent horses, but something was missing. The life of luxury, once a dream, was slowly turning into a routine where every day felt the same. The initial euphoria faded, replaced by a growing sense of unease. But the worst was yet to come. One morning, after a restless night, each of the three friends awoke to the same vision. The sorcerer who had guided them to this life of fortune appeared in their dreams, dark and silent. "You have gained what you desired," he said, his voice echoing in the stillness of the night. "But it is time for you to pay your due. A sacrifice must be made. You must offer a virgin girl from your surroundings to be sacrificed in the forest. This will sustain your wealth, and you will continue to live. If not, everything you have acquired will vanish." When Mamadou woke up, his body trembled with terror. He couldn't bring himself to tell his friends what he had seen, but he realized they must have shared the same dream. He rushed to Koffi's home, overwhelmed by an indescribable dread. "You have to listen," Mamadou said, his voice breaking. "The sorcerer, he told us that the sacrifice must be made. A virgin girl. A life so that the wealth continues, so that we live." Koffi, initially paralyzed by the revelation, clenched his fists. "No, that's impossible. We've already sacrificed so much to get here, and now we're supposed to offer an innocent life to keep this luxury? It's insane." "But we agreed," Ibrahim said, his eyes hollow. "We signed our fate when we took those stones. This isn't the first sacrifice we've made. If we want to keep this power, we have no choice." Horrified by this new demand, the three friends went to see the wealthy man for answers. They needed to understand what it all meant and how far this path would take them. The man, upon seeing them, greeted them with a cold, calculating smile, as if he already knew why they had come. "You've made your sacrifices," he said calmly, his voice chilling. "But every year, you will have to make more to sustain your wealth. That's how it works. Power, life, and abundance have a price. A price you must pay without fail. If you stop, everything will crumble. The wealth will no longer be yours." Mamadou, Koffi, and Ibrahim looked at one another, their faces etched with anguish and disgust. They had believed their lives would be an eternal celebration, but the sacrifices had become an inescapable reality. "We can't go on like this," Mamadou said, his voice heavy with sorrow. "This isn't what we wanted. This wealth means nothing if it costs us everything, even our souls." But Koffi, his eyes burning with anger, replied, "What choice do we have? We've already sacrificed too much. If we stop now, Everything we've built will be destroyed. Our lives, too. The years passed, and the thrill of parties, gold, and pleasures gradually disappeared. Laughter grew rarer. Meals became more silent. A heavy, merciless weight pressed on their hearts. Each night, their dreams were haunted by visions of innocent girls sacrificed, of lives stolen for their gain. Wealth no longer held the same allure. It had become a curse, a burden they could no longer escape. The prohibitions imposed by the sorcerer and the recurring sacrifices stripped away pieces of their humanity day by day. Mamadou, Koffi, and Ibrahim, who once believed anything was possible, realized too late that their dream of wealth had trapped them in an endless nightmare. "The parties, they bring me no joy anymore," Ibrahim murmured one evening, his eyes empty. "All this luxury makes me feel like I'm suffocating. And the memory of what we've lost, it's unbearable." Koffi nodded, his mind tormented. "We sold our souls for this. This luxury has become a cage." Mamadou, his eyes filled with sadness, whispered almost inaudibly, "We've become shadows of ourselves. And this wealth is consuming us." The weight of the sacrifices crushed them more each day. Their world of parties and luxury was now just an illusion. Deep in their hearts, they felt lost, trapped by their choices, unable to turn back. The nights, once peaceful, were now filled with nightmares. The faces of the sacrificed girls haunted them, and the judgment of their families weighed heavily on their minds. The prohibitions bound them, imprisoning them in a life they no longer recognized. Mamadou, Koffi, and Ibrahim finally understood that wealth, in all its splendor, had been their downfall all along. Ibrahim, once proud of his humble origins, found himself plunged into deep loneliness. The poverty of his family had shaped him, but the wealth he had gained now separated him from everything he had once known. He no longer felt the genuine love of his relatives, but rather a cold distance that burned his heart. Bound by the prohibition against sharing his wealth with his family, he became increasingly selfish, letting his loved ones languish in misery while he lived in opulence. His heart, once generous, was now shackled to riches he refused to share, leaving his family to endure hardship while he indulged in extravagance. Koffi, on the other hand, felt trapped by his own desires. The vow of chastity he had accepted to maintain his wealth became a heavy chain. Despite his immense riches, he could not escape his growing urges. At every party, beautiful women surrounded him, whispering sweet words and tempting him to give in. Yet the shadow of chastity hung over him like a curse. His overwhelming desires clashed with the promise he had made, and this internal struggle destroyed any pleasure he might have derived from his wealth. Constantly surrounded by stunning women he could not touch, the pressure became unbearable, driving him to the brink of madness. Mamadou, the most corpulent of the three and always eager for culinary delights, now lived in constant fear. The prohibition against eating food prepared by a woman turned every meal into a trial. No matter how grand the feasts in his lavish homes, he was haunted by the possibility that a woman might have touched his food. Out of fear of breaking the sacred rule, he resolved to eat only raw, unprepared food. Yet, his appetite grew insatiable, as did his craving for flavorful dishes. The stark contrast between his wealth and his dietary restrictions amplified his suffering. to possess all the food in the world but to abstain from what he loved most. Each meal had become a bitter reminder of his torment. Despite their wealth, the three friends carried an immense emptiness and infinite sadness within them. Their dreams and thirst for power had led them far from their families and values. They had sacrificed so much innocence, so many young lives, and had become lost in their pursuit of riches. Their souls, once pure, were now corrupted, and the thought of the sorcerer haunted them constantly. The shadow of death loomed over them, reminding them that wealth always comes at a price they could no longer escape. One night, as they prepared to bring a young virgin to the forest for sacrifice, the three friends were intercepted by a group of upright police officers who refused to be bribed, no matter the sums offered. Despite their attempts at corruption, the officers arrested them and promised a relentless trial. That evening, they failed to perform the required sacrifice in time. They were thrown into a cell, far from the world's eyes and distractions. The next morning, the police found the three men dead in their cell. Their wealth, jewelry, and power had failed to save them. The once mighty friends lay lifeless on the cold prison floor, their downfall as miserable as their lives had become. Their bodies were thrown into a mass grave without ceremony or claim. No family, no loved ones came to mourn them. They were now pariahs, hated and forgotten. Their hands, stained with blood and sin, had written their own tragic end. They had believed that wealth would grant them everything, but all they found was solitude, self-betrayal, and a dishonorable death. In the mass grave, they rested, not as heroes or powerful men, but as lost souls, their riches an illusion of greatness. Years passed, and the village where Mamadou, Koffi, and Ibrahim were born remained unchanged, shaped by the slow march of time. The laughter of children, the toil of the fields, and the simple yet meaningful life continued. The villagers never forgot the three young men who left with dreams of grandeur and never returned. Their story spread quickly, serving as a warning to those who believed material wealth could fill the void in their souls. The elders of the village, wise and experienced, began to share this tale with the younger generations, imparting its critical lessons. Never sacrifice what truly matters for fleeting riches, said the old Musa, standing beneath the village's ancient tree. Family, honor, and sincerity are treasures money cannot buy. Those who trade them for material gain always end up lost. The villagers came to understand that even in simplicity, there was great wealth. The true treasure, said the elderly Adalma, lies not in precious stones, gold, or possessions, but in the bonds we build, the love we share, and the peace within our souls. The sacrifices of the three friends echoed as a warning in the hearts of all. The promise of eternal wealth, if not accompanied by wisdom and morality, was merely an illusion. Each person learned that the path to greatness was not paved with material possessions, but with human values and sacrifices that preserve the integrity of the heart. The children listened attentively, asking questions about Mamadou, Koffi, and Ibrahim's dreams, their struggles, and their failures. And with every question, a lesson emerged. Seek the wealth of the spirit, the wealth of the soul, and never let the pursuit of material goods overshadow your humanity. Thus, the story of the three friends became a legend, passed down through generations, transforming into a shared wisdom. It reminded everyone that the pursuit of wealth should never overshadow what is truly essential: connection with others, honesty, and respect for the values that make us dignified human beings. At the end of the day, as the sun set over the village hills, the villagers gathered under the ancient tree, grateful for the lessons learned and the wisdom gained through the suffering of others. Mamadou, Koffi, and Ibrahim were gone, but their mistakes, sacrifices, and regrets left behind a legacy that would echo through the ages. Wealth without heart is ruin, and the true treasure lies in simplicity and humanity. Here we are at the end of this incredible story. If you enjoyed it, please do like the video and share the video. We'd love to read from you in the comments about witchcraft and its consequences. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you.